developmental theories. First is cognition. Cognition is the process of acquiring knowledge through our thoughts, experiences, and senses. To be followed by metacognition. Metacognition is an awareness of one's thought processes and an understanding of the patterns behind them. The term comes from the root word meta, meaning beyond, or on top of. And the third one is the schema. The schema describes the vital interconnected network of background knowledge that proves so crucial for our pupils' learning. To be followed by assimilation. Assimilation is a cognitive process that manages how we take in new information and incorporate the new information into our existing knowledge. And the fifth one is the accommodation. Accommodation used to describe an alteration of environment, curriculum format, or equipment that allows an individual with a disability to gain access to content and complete assigned tasks. To be followed by equilibration. It describes how new information is balanced with existing knowledge. It involves the processes of assimilation or fitting new information into existing mental schemas, and accommodation, adjusting or changing a schema to fit new information. And the seventh one is the object permanence. It is the understanding that whether an object can be sensed has no effect on whether it continues to exist. Followed by symbolic functions. At the ages 2 to 4, children develop mental representations of objects in the world around them during this sub-stage. And the ninth one is the egocentrism. It is the excessive interest in oneself and concern for one's own welfare or advantage at the expense of or in disregards of others. To be followed by decentration. Centration refers to a thought and behavior in the pre-operational stage whereby the child overly fixates on one point and is incapable of viewing the larger picture. And the 11th theory is the irreversibility. Irreversibility refers to the young child's difficulty mentally reversing a sequence of events. Followed by animism. Animism is the belief that inanimate objects are capable of actions and have lifelike qualities. And the third theory is the transductive reasoning. Transductive reasoning refers to when a child reasons from one specific to specific, drawing a relationship between two separate events that are otherwise unrelated. To be followed by dysentery. Dysentery refers to the ability to consider multiple aspects of a situation. And the 15th theory is the reversibility. Reversibility means the child learns that some things that have been changed can be returned to their original state. And the 16th theory is the conservation. Conservation refers to the ability to think logically to determine that a particular quantity will remain the same even though there is a change in shape or size. Followed by serration. Serration is the process of arranging a collection of items in a specific order or series on the basis of a particular dimension. And the 18th theory is the hypothetical reasoning. Hypothetical reasoning is the ability to come up with different hypotheses about a problem. Followed by analogical reasoning. Analogical reasoning is the ability to perceive the relationship in one instance and use that relationship to narrow down possible answers in similar problems. And the last one is the deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is the ability to use a general principle to determine a particular outcome. Science and mathematics often require this type of thinking about hypothetical situations and concepts. And now let's proceed to Jean Piaget's cognitive developmental theory. Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development helped add to our understanding of children's intellectual growth. It also stressed that children were not merely passive recipients of knowledge. Instead, kids are constantly investigating and experimenting as they build their understanding of how the world works. Jean Piaget proposed 4 major stages of cognitive development and called them sensory-motor intelligence, pre-operational thinking, concrete operational thinking, and formal operational thinking. Each stage is correlated with an age period of childhood but only approximately. And now let's define the stage 1, which is the sensory-motor intelligence, from 0 to 2 years old. The sensory-motor stage is the first stage of your child's life. According to Jean Piaget's theory of child development, it begins at birth and lasts through age 2. During this period, your little one learns about the world by using their senses to interact with their surroundings. For the stage 2, which is the pre-operational thinking from 2 to 7 years old, during this stage, toddler through age 7, young children are able to think about things symbolically. Their language use becomes more mature. They also develop memories and imagination, which allows them to understand the difference between past and future and engage in make-believe. And for the stage 3, which is concrete operational thinking, from 7 to 11 years old, from ages 7 to 11, children are in what Piaget referred to as the concrete operational stage of cognitive development from the study of Crane 2005. This involves mastering the use of logic in concrete ways. The word concrete refers to that which is tangible, that which can be seen, touched, or experienced directly. And now let's proceed to the last stage, which is the stage 4, formal operational thinking, from 11 years old to adulthood. Formal operational stage of human cognitive development, typically beginning around age 11 or 12, characterized by the emergence of logical thinking processes, particularly the ability to understand theories and abstract ideas and predict possible outcomes of hypothetical problems. Lev Vygotsky's Social Cultural Cognitive Theory. Vygotsky's Social Cultural Cognitive Theory asserts that a child's cognitive development and learning ability can be guided and mediated by their social interactions. His theory, also called Vygotsky's Social Cultural Theory, states that a learning is a crucially social process as opposed to an independent journey of discovery. Socialization is one of the Lev Vygotsky's Social Cultural Cognitive Theory. Lev Vygotsky primarily explains that socialization affects the learning process in an individual. It tries to explain consciousness or awareness as the result of socialization. This means that when we talk to our peers or adults, we talk to them for the sake of communication. Second is interaction. Lev Vygotsky's theory emphasizes that intellectual development is a social process that occurs through interaction with others. Through this interaction, individuals engage to external speech, which enables them to organize their thoughts and regulate their behavior. For the third one, which is scaffolding, Vygotsky's scaffolding is a method of teaching that helps learners understand educational content by working with an educator or someone who has a better understanding of material. And for the second to the last one is the MKO. Vygotsky defined the more knowledgeable other or MKO as everyone who has a better understanding or a higher ability than the learner, particularly in regards to a specific task, concept, or process. Traditionally, the MKO is thought of as a teacher or an older adult. However, this is not always the case. And the last one is the fade away technique. A technique in which as the learners become more proficient, they are able to complete tasks on their own that they could not initially do without assistance. The guidance can be withdrawn. And that's all for the lesson 13.
Good day, Mamaturan. I am Bakomo Dexter B, and today I will be discussing the lesson 14, which is the intelligence and individual differences. Now, the concept of intelligence presented by Binet and Simon was focused on cognitive abilities that are relevant to school performance. However, it is important to note that their understanding of intelligence was limited only to the cognitive domain and did not encompass other aspects such as emotional intelligence or social intelligence. Despite its limitation, the work of Binet and Simon laid the groundwork for the assessment and measurement of their intelligence. Their research and ideas continue to shape our understanding of intelligence and its impact on various aspects of human life. The concept of mental age versus chronological age. Chronological age. Mental age versus chronological age is a concept that explores the discrepancy between an individual's intellectual or cognitive development and their actual age. Chronological age refers to the number of years a person has been alive, while mental age refers to the level of intellectual functioning and cognitive abilities, typically associated with a specific age group. So, let's move on to the next. The idea of mental age was originally introduced by psychologist Alfred Binet in the early 20th century as a means to assess intelligence in children. The Binet developed tests to measure different cognitive abilities and compared a child's performance to what would be expected for their age group. Based on their test results, a child's mental age could be determined, which could then be compared to their chronological age. The concept of mental age is particularly relevant when discussing individuals' developmental disorders or intellectual disabilities. For example, persons' mental age may lag behind their chronological age due to factors such as learning disabilities, delayed cognitive development, or certain neurological condition. In such cases, the individual may have the intellectual abilities of someone younger than their actual age. Conversely, some individual may display greater cognitive abilities and advanced development intellectual development compared to their chronological age. These individuals may have a higher mental age, indicating that they possess the intellectual capabilities beyond what is typical for their given age group. Understanding the relationship between mental age and chronological age can help in assessing cognitive abilities. Educational placement and providing appropriate support and interventions for individuals with varying levels of intellectual development. It emphasizes the importance of considering an individual's cognitive their the functioning rather than relying solely on their chronological age when making assessment and decisions about their abilities, potential, and support needs. Concepts of Charles Spearman's General Intelligence Theory. Charles Spearman's General Intelligence Theory, also known as the G-factor theory, proposes that intelligence can be measured and summarized by a single factor called G, or general intelligence. According to Spearman, This general intelligence factor underlines the specific cognitive abilities that individual may possess. Spearman argued that although individuals may have different strengths and weaknesses in specific cognitive areas, there is a common underlying factor that contributes to their overall intellectual performance. These general intelligence factors reflect an individual's ability to reason, solve problems, and adapt to new situations. Spearman proposed that individuals who score well on cognitive tests tend to perform well on the other cognitive tests as well. This positive correlation suggests that the presence of general cognitive capacity that influence performance across different tasks. However, Spearman also acknowledged that specific abilities such as verbal or mathematical skills can exist independently of general intelligence factor. He referred these specific abilities as S factor, while G represents the common factor across various cognitive tasks. S represents abilities that are specific to particular domains. Spearman general intelligence theory has been influential in the field of psychology and intelligence research. It provides a framework for understanding the nature of intelligence and how it relates to the cognitive abilities. Critics of the theory argues that it is oversimplifies the complex of nature of human intelligence, neglecting other important factors such as creativity and emotional intelligence. Nonetheless, uh, Spearman's concept of general intelligence continued to be valuable in assessing and understanding the cognitive abilities in individuals. It serves as a foundation for further exploration and research into the complexities of human intelligence. Now, the fourth factor and its meaning of Spearman's specific factor. Number 1. Factor intensity. This refers to the relative importance of each factor in the production process of different industries. Industries that requires a higher proportion of specific factor will experience a higher increase of in the return to the factor when there is an increase in demand for their products. Number 2, trade pattern. The trade pattern of trade, specifically the compositions of imports and exports, affects the relative demands for different factors. If a country specializes in the industries that intensively uses its abundant factors, then the price and returns to those factors are likely to increase. Number 3, factor mobility. The model that assumes labor and capital can move freely between industries in response to change in factor prices. However, the specific factor is immobile, which means that it cannot easily switch between industries. This immobility can result in winners and losers from trade, as the immobile factors may experience a decline in its real wage or return. Number 4, wage and profit effects. Trade can affect wages and profits in different industries. The specific factor's income depends on the output price and the specific factor's productivity. If an industry experiences an increase in demand and relative increase in output, price the specific factor's income in that industries will rise. On the other hand, if an industry faces import and competition, a decrease in its output price, the specific factor's income that industry may decline. Now give the main idea of Louis Leon Thurston theory of intelligence factor analysis. Louis Leon Thurston's theory intelligence, also known as the factor analysis theory of intelligence, proposes that the intelligence is not a singular unitary entity but rather a collection of distinct mental abilities or factors. According to Thurston, these factors are relatively independent of each other, meaning that individual may possess varying level of ability across different domains. Thurston Thurston also developed that the method of a factor analysis is a statistical technique used in identifying underlying factors or dimension within a set of data. He applied this method to intelligence testing and found that there are several primary mental abilities that contribute to overall intelligence, including verbal comprehension and numerical abilities, spatial visualization, memory, perceptual speed, and reasoning. Unlike other theories that propose a single general intelligence or G factor, Thurston emphasized the importance of specific abilities and argued that intelligence cannot be accurately presented by single score. He believed that understanding the specific abilities that contribute to intelligence would provide more and comprehensive understanding of an individual's cognitive strength and weaknesses. Thurston theory challenged the prevailing belief in the early 20th century that intelligence could be adequately captured by single measures such as an IQ. His factor analysis approach contributed to the development of more sophisticated intelligence tests that assess multiple cognitive abilities. Thurston work laid the foundation for a more multidimensional and nuanced understanding of intelligence. Now let's move on to the next. List down the 7 primary mental abilities. Thurston and its meaning. Number 1, verbal comprehension. This refers to the ability to understand and use written and spoken language. Effectively, it includes tasks such as reading comprehension, vocabulary knowledge, and verbal reasoning. Number 2, word fluency. Word fluency involves the ability to produce words or ideas rapidly within a specific category or general context. It encompasses the tasks such as generating words that start with a specific letter, listing as many animals as possible, or generating ideas for a given topic. Number 3, numerical ability. This entails proficiency in working numbers with mathematical operations and mathematical reasoning. It also includes the tasks like solving arithmetic, problem calculating, percentages, and understanding mathematical concepts. Number 4, spatial visualization. It involves the ability to mentally manipulate and understand visual informations. It includes tasks such as mentally rotating object, recognizing patterns, and understanding spatial relationship. Number 5, inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning involves the ability to identify pattern and generalizes from specific examples. Observation. It includes tasks such as solving analogy problems, detecting underlying relationship, and making predictions. Number 6, memory refers to the capability to retain and recall information. It includes both short-term and long-term memory tasks such as remembering list of words, recalling information from memory, and recognizing previously encountered information fall under this category. Number 7, perceptual speed is related to the ability to quickly and accurately process visual information. It involves tasks such as identifying and discriminating visual stimuli, recognizing pattern rapidly, and reacting quickly to visual cues. 7 primary mental abilities. Number 1, verbal comprehension. This ability involves understanding and using language effectively. Uh, it encompasses skills such as vocabulary reading comprehension, and verbal reasoning. Number 2, numerical ability, also referred to as mathematical ability. This encompasses skill related to mathematical problem solving, numerical reasoning, and computational skills. Number 3, spatial visualization. This ability involves mentally manipulating and visualizing objects and their spatial relationships. People with a strong spatial visualization can easily understand and interpret three-dimensional objects and spatial patterns. Number 4, inductive reasoning. This ability involves in identifying pattern and making generalizations based on limited information. It is closely related to critical thinking and logical reasoning skills. Number 5, memory ability. Memory ability refers to the capacity to acquire, retain, and recall information. This includes both short-term and long-term memory, as well as the ability to recognize and retrieve information when needed. Perceptual, number 6, perceptual. Perceptual speed. This ability involves quickly and accurately perceiving and processing visual information. It includes skills such as rapidly reading, visual scanning, and reaction time. Number 7, word fluency. Word fluency is associated with the speed of ease of producing words both verbally and in written form. It includes verbal expression, creativity, and ability to generate ideas quickly. The over, the overall theory of Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence. Gardner proposes that there are 8 different types of intelligence. Um, Number 1, linguistics. Linguistic intelligence. This intelligence involves sensitivity to spoken and written language. People with high linguistics intelligence tend to excel in areas such as writing and reading or public speaking. Number 2, logical and mathematical intelligence. This intelligence involves reasoning and problem solving and also mathematical operations. Involves with a high logical mathematical intelligence have a strong aptitude for critical thinking and abstract reasoning. Number 3, spatial intelligence. Spatial intelligence refers to the ability to perceive and understand visual information. People with high spatial are often skilled in areas such as visual art designs and navigation. Now, number four is musical intelligence. This intelligence relates to the ability to understand and create music. Individuals with high musical intelligence often to have a strong sensitivity to sound patterns, rhythms, and melody. Number 5, bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence involves the ability to use one's body effectively and manipulate objects skillfully. Athletes, dancers, surgeons, and other individuals with exceptional body control typically have a high bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Number 6, interpersonal intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence involves understanding and interacting individual with others. People with high interpersonal intelligence have high social ex- have high social excellent skills and are often empathic and perspective of others' emotions and intentions. Number 7, intrapersonal intelligence. Intrapersonal intelligence refers to the self-awareness and understanding one's emotions and motivations and goals. Individuals with high intrapersonal intelligence tend to be reflective, introspective, and have a strong sense of self. Number 8, naturalistic intelligence. Naturalistic intelligence involves the ability to recognize and classify patterns in nature. People with high naturalistic intelligence demonstrate an affinity for the outdoors, environmental awareness, and a keen observation of the natural world. Now let's move on to the next. The 3 components of the triarchic theory of intelligence as presented by Robert Sternberg. The triarchic theory of intelligence formulated by Robert Sternberg proposes that intelligence can be classified into 3 distinct components. These components are: number 1, componential intelligence. Componential intelligence focuses on the mental process and cognitive abilities that are essential for problem solving, reasoning, and information. It involves skills such as analytical thinking, logical reasoning, and strategic planning. This component emphasizes how individuals acquire and apply knowledge to solve problems efficiently and effectively. Number 2, um, experiential intelligence. Experiential intelligence refers to the ability to creatively and adaptively apply knowledge and skills in real life situations. It involves the capacity to think creatively, uses insight, and venture beyond existing knowledge and solutions. This component emphasizes the thinking in a new, innovative way and being open to new experience and being able to adapt and learn from those experiences. Number three, practical intelligence. Practical intelligence is also known as contextual intelligence. Relates to the ability to apply knowledge and skills practical everyday situations. It involves the capacity to understand and navigate the social and cultural aspects of the environment, uses the common sense and react effectively to different situations. This component emphasizes the ability to adapt changing circumstances, problem solve in real world context and interact successfully with others. According to Sternberg, these three components of intelligence are interrelated and contribute to an individual's overall intellectual functioning. Each components play a significant role in determining how individuals may adapt, learn, and succeed in different situations, contexts. Um, Atkinson's Schriffen's cognitive information processing theory overview. The Atkinson-Shiffrin cognitive information processing theory is a prominent model that explains the structure and functioning of human memory. Proposed by Richard Atkinson and Richard Shiffrin in 1968, the theory suggests that memory is composed of three distinct stages: sensory memory, short-term, and long-term memory. Number one, sensory memory. This is the first stage of memory processing. It briefly holds an incoming sensory information that from environment in its original sensory form. Sensory memory has a separate components for different senses, such as iconic memory for visual stimuli and echoic memory for auditory stimuli. Sensory has memory a large capacity but a very short duration, typically lasting a fraction for a seconds or to a few seconds. Number two, short-term memory. Information and receives attention and is consciously processed and short-term memory. Short-term memory has a limited capacity and duration capable of storing around 7 plus 2 chunks of information for approximately 20 to 30 seconds unless it is rehearsed. It acts as temporary workspace for actively manipulating and organizing information. If information is not transferred to long-term memory nor or not rehearsed, it is likely to be forgotten. Number three, long-term memory or LTM. Long-term memory has the unlimited capacity and is considered the repository of our past experience, knowledge, and skills. It is where information is encoded and stored, retrieved, and over extended periods of time. LTM can be further categorized into two types: explicit declarative memory and implicit non-declarative memory. Explicit memory refers to the conscious and intentional relocations of facts and events, while implicit memory involves the influence of prior experience on present behavior without conscious and awareness. Atkinson's and Shiffrin's theory also propose that the transfer of information from sensory to short-term memory is mediated by attention, and the transfer of information from short-term memory to long-term memory is facilitated by meaningful rehearsal and elaborations. The theory emphasizes the need for encoding, storage, and retrieval process to effectively retain and recall informations. While the Atkinson-Shiffrin model was influential in shaping our understanding of memory, subsequent research has led to the development of more complex models that account for additional processes and interactions involved in memory. Nevertheless, the core concept of sensory memory, short-term or memory and long-term memory continue to be foundational in the study of human memory. Now let's move on to the next three stages of memory processing and its meaning of Richard Atkinson and Richard Schifrin. Richard Atkinson and Richard Schifrin proposed a three stages model of memory processing called the Atkinson-Schifrin model. According to this model, memory is processed to three main stages: sensory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. Number one, sensory memory. This sensory memory stage is the first stage of memory processing. It represents the initial information that is received from our senses, such as sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. This stage has a very large capacity but a very short duration. Sensory memory allows us to briefly retain and recall sensory information. It acts like a sensory buffer that holds information for a fraction of second and passing it to the next stage of memory processing. Short-term memory. The short-term memory stage is the second stage of memory processing. It is responsible for temporarily holding and manipulating information that we are actively working with. Short-term memory has a limited capacity and relatively short duration. It can be hold about 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of the information about 20 to 30 seconds unless it is rehearsed or transferred to long-term memory. Rehearsal, which involves repetition to maintain information, the primary mechanism for keeping information in short-term memory. Number 3, long-term memory or LTM. The long-term memory stage is final stage of memory. It is the repository of all the knowledge and experience that have been acquired over time. Long-term memory has a potentially unlimited capacity and can hold information for an extended period, ranging from minutes to a lifetime. Information stored in long-term memory is relatively permanent, and it can be retrieved and brought back into conscious awareness when needed. Overall, the three-stage model proposed by Atkinson Schifrin provides a framework for understanding how memory works. Incoming memory information is briefly stored in sensory memory, then selected information is transferred to short-term memory for temporary processing, and finally important information is consolidated and encoded into long-term memory for more permanence and storage and retrieval. That would be all, ma'am. Thank you. And I was with a group of Lavisto Christine May, Masillones Richard. Thank you, ma'am. God bless.
Good day, Mama Turan. I'm Larissa Christine May, and today I'm going to tackle the lesson 15 to 16. These are the factors affecting cognitive development and define the main idea of a different language theories. First, we have to define what is cognitive development. Cognitive development refers to the process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through perceptions, intuition, and reasoning. So here are some several factors affect cognitive development. Number 1. Genetic. Genetic plays a significant role in cognitive development. Several genes are responsible for brain development and they determine the individual cognitive abilities, learning speed, and memory. Example, an individual cognitive abilities such as their IQ score. Number 2. Environmental factors. Good learning and social environments enhance cognitive development as children learning abilities in their environment where they feel comfortable and safe. Experiencing malnutrition and not receiving affection from caregivers can adversely affect a child's cognitive development. Example, the influence of poverty on children's cognitive development. Studies have shown that children who grow in a poverty are more likely to suffer from cognitive lags and behavioral problems than those who do not. Number 3, nutrition. Proper nutrition is an essential factor of a cognitive development. Malnourished children may experience stunted growth, impaired memory, and reduced cognitive function. Example, children who receive adequate nutrition, including vitamins, minerals, and fatty acid, have been found to have better academic performance, memory, language acquisition, and cognitive skills compared to those who don't. Number 4, Stimulation. Regular stimulation is essential for cognitive development. Stimulation can come from various sources such as books, toys, and interaction with parents and caregivers. Number 5. Early learning experiences includes playing, reading, singing, and storytelling such as activities improve cognitive development by promoting imagination and creativity of a children.
Communication is part of everything we do. It is the foundation of relationships and is essential for play, social interaction, and learning. What do we mean by speech, language, and communication? Speech means speaking with a clear voice in a way that makes the message interesting and meaningful, speaking fluently without repeating words or sounds, and being able to make sounds clearly so people can understand what you say. By language, we mean both talking, expressive language, and the understanding of language. Receptive language involves the understanding of words, sentences, instructions, and stories. Expressive language refers to how we express ourselves using words, putting these words in sentences, and telling stories. Communication is about using language or gestures in different ways to get your message across, for example, to ask a question or to share an opinion, being able to consider other people's points of view, and using and understanding body language and facial expressions. Speech, language and communication needs, or SLCN, is the umbrella term used to describe communication difficulties. It is recognized that SLCN is one of the most common childhood developmental difficulties. SLCN can also arise from a lack of exposure to rich communication experiences. The prevalence of SLCN in schools is high. Internationally, it is accepted that around 10% of the population have SLCN. In areas of social disadvantage, this figure is significantly higher, with up to 50 to 60% of children entering school with SLCN. Within the umbrella term of SLCN, 7% of all children have a developmental language disorder. 3% of all children have SLCN linked with other conditions, including those with autism or general learning difficulties, or individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. The majority of children with additional needs have some degree of SLCN. Of these children, an estimated 1% have the most severe and complex SLCN, which prevent them from expressing their basic needs. SLCN are often under-identified in schools. Considering how common these needs are, it is important to think about how many students you might typically expect to present with SLCN in your school. As we now know, speech, language and communication needs are often hidden. You may see students who avoid contributing in class, who struggle to make friends, or who present with low self-esteem. What you see happening in the classroom may be a result of what is happening under the surface for that student. If you see a student presenting this way, there could be underlying speech, language and communication needs. Almost everything we do in our day-to-day lives involves speech, language and communication. Therefore, difficulties in this area can have a significant impact on every aspect of a person's life. Let's consider how these difficulties can impact education, behaviour, mental health and well-being, and employment. There can be a significant impact on a child's education. 50 to 90% of children with persistent SLCN go on to have reading difficulties. And language underpins every aspect of the school curriculum, as children learn through oral and written language. Language pervades every subject taught at school, and children with SLCN can have difficulties accessing the curriculum. The ability to communicate effectively is also important for students' overall well-being and participation in school life. Language and behaviour are intrinsically linked, with a large proportion of students with behavioural difficulties having underlying SLCN. There can be lifelong impacts for these students. Internationally, 81% of students with emotional behavioural disorder have SLCN. 66% of males excluded from school have SLCN, and more than 60% of young people in the justice system have SLCN. Poor communication is a risk factor for mental health difficulties. Children with communication difficulties can see themselves as less able than their friends, impacting their self-esteem and confidence. They are more likely to experience anxiety and depression than their peers, and making and maintaining friendships can be difficult. Employers rate communication skills as their highest priority. More than 8 out of 10 long-term unemployed young men have been found to have speech-language needs. This video will highlight the impact SLCN can have on young people's lives and bring to life what it feels like for students.
When I was very young, it became apparent that I had a lot of speech and language issues. I would hear one thing, but my brain couldn't process the words in the right order. The way it was explained to me was that your brain is like a filing cabinet with all the files put from A to Z. Unfortunately, what my brain was doing was, for example, taking a file beginning with R and filing it under L. This might not seem a big deal.
It can have a significant impact on every aspect of a person's life. Let's consider how these difficulties can impact education, behaviour, mental health and well-being, and employment. There can be a significant impact on a child's education. 50 to 90% of children with persistent SLCN go on to have reading difficulties. And language underpins every aspect of the school curriculum, as children learn through oral and written language. Language pervades every subject taught at school, and children with SLCN can have difficulties accessing the curriculum. The ability to communicate effectively is also important for students' overall well-being and participation in school life. Language and behaviour are intrinsically linked, with a large proportion of students with behavioural difficulties having underlying SLCN. There can be lifelong impacts for these students. Internationally, 81% of students with emotional behavioural disorder have SLCN. 66% of males excluded from school have SLCN, and more than 60% of young people in the justice system have SLCN. Poor communication is a risk factor for mental health difficulties. Children with communication difficulties can see themselves as less able than their friends, impacting their self-esteem and confidence. They are more likely to experience anxiety and depression than their peers, and making and maintaining friendships can be difficult. Employers rate communication skills as their highest priority. More than 8 out of 10 long-term unemployed young men have been found to have speech-language needs. This video will highlight the impact SLCN can have on young people's lives and bring to life what it feels like for students.
When I was very young, it became apparent that I had a lot of speech and language issues. I would hear one thing, but my brain couldn't process the words in the right order. The way it was explained to me was that your brain is like a filing cabinet with all the files put from A to Z. Unfortunately, what my brain was doing was, for example, taking a file beginning with R and filing it under L. This might not seem a big deal, but when I try to find the file beginning with R, it's not there. I know it has to be somewhere, but it means I have to go through all the files before I can find it. As a result, I'm much slower at understanding the whole world around me. Up to the age of 12, friends didn't really notice that much, and I worked really hard at my speech and language to try and keep up. I joined the local GA club when I was 7. It gave me a chance to escape from letters and numbers. You didn't have to be clever or have your hand up first, or understand how to calculate 25% of 100. You just played. When I got older, it became obvious to all my friends that I had language problems, and things started to change. I became much more aware that I was different, and as a result, felt more isolated. I stopped joining in all conversations because I knew I wasn't catching all the details, and if I made a comment, it was ignored. Instead of going out with my friends, I started going to the hurling wall and practicing on my own. The great advantage of this was I got better at playing and understanding the game. But the disadvantage of this was I was on my own. My parents began to cop on that I was unhappy. So my mom sat me down and we talked. She explained to me that I was just as good and just as equal as everybody else. Everyone has his or her special talents in life, whether it's intelligence, sporty, or creative. It's all valuable. The person who got 600 points in his leaving cert couldn't score a goal in 10 points like Henry Sheffield, or the computer whiz kid couldn't write a song like Phil Lynott. My mom asked me a question once: who would you miss most if they went on strike? The NASA rocket scientist, or the man who collects your bins? So the best advice I was ever given was that regardless of my talents or my shortcomings, that I am as good as anyone else. It's the extra bit of kindness or compassion that makes us a little bit better. My name is Cara Reddy, and this is my story.
So what works to support children with SLCN? Supporting teachers to build their knowledge, skills and confidence in identifying students whose difficulties are often hidden in the classroom. Collaboration between SLTs, education and parents ensures the best outcomes for students. The needs of students with SLCN are best met when support is provided across the continuum. You can find more information on how to support students with SLCN by visiting the following websites. There are resources to support SLCN on the NCSE website.
So now let's proceed to Lesson 16. Define the main idea of a different language development theories. First, we have Daniel Everett's theories. Language catches a communicative itch. According to Everett, language is a primary tool used for all your communication rather than universal innate ability. He also notes that language and culture are closely linked and that language serves to express cultural identity and values. Number 2, we have Chomsky nativist linguistic theory, universal grammar. According to Chomsky, humans are born with an innate ability to learn language, which he called universal grammar. Universal grammar explains why all humans' language shares certain features such as the use, noun, and verb. Chomsky argued that language development is not just a matter of imitating what is heard, but rather involves a process of innate structure building based on the biological foundation of the brain. Third, we have B.F. Skinner's behaviors theory. According to B.F. Skinner's behaviors theory of language development suggests that language is acquired through operant conditioning. Skinner believed that language is a behavior that is learned to shape responses to environmental stimuli and positive reinforcement. Fourth, we have Vygotsky's social interactionist theory. The main idea of Vygotsky's social interaction theory is that language development occurs through social interaction with others, particularly more knowledgeable others who scaffold the child learning. Child learn new concepts and skills by participating in activities and discussions with adults who peers who have more advanced linguistic abilities. And last but not the least, Piaget's constructive theories. The main idea of Piaget's constructivist theories in language development is that children actively construct their